And now the government says that China's economy demonstrated remarkable resilience and capability in 2024. We'll hear more remarks from Chinese officials and experts.
先生们，大家上午好，欢迎出席国务院新闻办新闻发布会。今天我们进行经济数据例行发布，我们邀请到国家统计局局长
Mr. Kang Yi, MBS
国家统计
Commissioner,
局新闻发言
Mr.
人
Fu Linghui,
国民经济
MBS
综合统计局
Spokesperson,
局长
and the
傅林
DG
辉
of the
先生
Department of Comprehensive
请他们
Statistics
为大
of
家
the
介绍
national
2024
economy.
年
They
国
will
民
brief you
经济
on China's
情
economic
况，回答大家关
performance
心的
in
问题。
2024 and take your
下面我
questions.
们首先请
Now
康
I will
议
give
先
the
生
floor
做
to
介绍
Mr. Kang Yi.
好，各位媒体朋友们
Friends from the media,
上午好，
good morning.
欢迎大家参加今天上午
Welcome to
的
today's
新闻发布会。
Press conference.
感谢大家长期以来
I thank you all for
对
your
统计工作的
long-standing
关心
interest
支
in
持
and support for our
再
work.
过10来天呢，我们传统
In
的
about 2
春节
weeks,
即将到来
we will
在这里呢
celebrate
我也
the Spring Festival, a traditional Chinese holiday.
新春愉
I
快。
wish you a happy
接下来呢
festival.
我先介绍一下
Let me now
2024年
turn
国
to
民经
the
济运
statistics
行的
of
主要指标
the Chinese economy in
然后
2024.
呢，再来回答大家关
After
心的问
that,
题。
I will, together with my colleague, I will take your questions.
2024年，面对
In
外部压力
2024,
加大
facing
内部困难增多的
increasing
复杂严峻形势，
external pressure and
在以
internal
习近平同
difficulties
志
under the
为核
strong
心的党中
leadership
央坚强
of
领
the
导下，
CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core,
深入贯彻落实党中央、国务院
decisions and
决策部署
arrangements
坚持
of the CPC Central Committee and the State
工作主
Council
基调
have been delivered.
完整、准确、
We have
全面
adhered
贯
to the
彻
principle of
新发展
seeking
理念
progress while maintaining
加
stability,
快构建
fully and
新发展
faithfully
格局
apply the new development
扎实
philosophy on
推
all
动
fronts,
高质量发展，
accelerated efforts
国
to
民经济
foster
运行
a new
总体
a
平
new
稳、稳
paradigm
中
of
有进
development and
高
pursued
质量发展
high-quality development
新进展，
in solid steps.
特别是及时部署出台以
Most notably,
增量政策，
a set of
推
incremental
动
policies have been
社
rolled
会
out
信心有效提振，
which
经济
effectively bolstered
明显回升
confidence and
经济社会主
led
要发展
to
目标任务
economic
顺
recovery.
利完成，
The major tasks
初步核算
and goals of economic and social
全年
development
国内生产总值
were successfully achieved.
34.9万亿元，
GDP
按
was
不变价格计算
134.908.4 billion yuan in 2024, an increase of 5% over the previous year at constant
第一产业
prices.
增加值
Grouped by
9.6
industries, the value added of the primary industry was 9,141.4 billion yuan, up by 3.5%.
49.2万亿
That
元，
of secondary
增
industry,
长
49,208.7
第三产业增加值
billion yuan, up by 5.3%.
增长
And that of the tertiary industry, 76,558.3 billion yuan, up by 5%. By quarters, in Q1, GDP went up by
二季度增长
5.3% year
三
on
季度
year,
增长 4.6%，
Q2
四季度
4.7%,
增长
Q3
5.4%，
4.6%, and Q4 5.4%.
四季度国内
The
生产总值
GDP for
增长
Q4 increased by
1.6%。
1.6% quarter on quarter.
一，粮食产量
1.
再上
Grain
新
output
台阶
reached a new
畜牧业
height
生产
and production of animal husbandry grew steadily.
去年全国粮食
Last year, the
总
total
产量
output of grain
7.1亿
was 706.5 million tons, an increase of
增长
11.09 million tons over the previous year,
其中
up by 1.6%.
1.5亿
Output
的
of summer grain was
2.6%，
150 million tons, up by 2.6%. That of early rise,
下降 0.6%，
28.17 million tons, down by
5.3亿吨，
0.6%, and that of autumn grain reached
分
528.43 million tons, up by 1.4%.
1.4亿吨，增长
The output of wheat was
2.6%，
140.1 million tons, up by 2.6%.
增长
Corn
2.1%，
290
稻谷产
million
量
tons, up by 2.1%. That of
增长
rice,
0.5%，
210 million tons, up by 0.05%.
65万吨，
That of soybean,
下降
20.65 million tons, down
全
by
年
0.9%.
牛羊禽肉
The
产量
total output of pork, beef, mutton, and
63
poultry
万吨，比
was
上年增长
96.63 million tons, up by 0.2% over the previous year. The output of pork, 57.06 million tons, down by 1.6%. That of beef, 7.79 million tons, up by 3.5%. That of mutton, 5.18 million tons, down by 2.5%. That of poultry, 26.6 million tons, up by 3.8%. The production of milk reached 40.79 million tons, down by 2.8%, and that of eggs, 35.88 million tons, up by 0.7%. In 2024, 700 million pigs were slaughtered, down by 3.3%, and 430 million pigs were registered in stock at the end of this year, of last year, down by 1.6%. Number 2, industrial production saw a good momentum of growth, and equipment manufacturing and high-tech manufacturing grew rapidly. Last year, the total value added of industrial enterprises above the designated size increased by 5.8% over the previous year. Grouped by sectors, the value added of mining was up by 3.1%, that of manufacturing up by 6.1%, and that of production and supply of electricity, thermal power, gas, and water up by 5.3%. The value added of equipment manufacturing went up by 7.7%, that of high-tech manufacturing up by 8.9%, which was 1.9 percentage points and 3.1 percentage points faster than that of whole industrial enterprises above the designated scale. In terms of ownership, the value added of the state-holding enterprises grew by 4.2%, that of shareholding enterprises up by 6.1%, that of the enterprises funded by foreign investors and investors from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan increased by 4%, that of private enterprises up by 5.3%. The production of new energy vehicles in the IC and industrial robots grew by 38.7%, 22.2%, and 14.2% respectively. In Q4, the total value added of big industrial enterprises grew by 5.7% year-on-year. In December, the total value added of these big industrial enterprises grew by 6.2% year-on-year, or up by 0.64% month-on-month. In the first 11 months, the total profits made by these big industrial enterprises were 6,700 billion yuan, down by 4.7% year-on-year. Number 3, service sector continued to grow, and modern services enjoyed sound momentum of growth. The value added of service sector went up by 5% year-on-year, and the value added of information transmission software and information technology services, leasing and business services, transportation, storage and postal services, accommodation and catering, finance and wholesale and retail grew respectively by 10.9%, 10.4%, 7%, 6.4%, 5.6%, and 5.5%. In Q4, the value added of service sector went up by 5.8% year-on-year. In December, the services production index went up by 6.5% year-on-year. And more specifically, that of leasing and business services, finance, information transmission, software and information technology service, and transportation, storage, and postal services grew respectively by 9.5%, 9.3%, 8.8%, and 8.3%. In the first 11 months, the business revenue of major service enterprises grew by 8.2% year-on-year. The business revenue of leasing and business services, information transmission, software and information technology services, and transportation, storage, and postal services went up by 11.5%, 9.5%, and 8.3% respectively. Number 4, market sales kept growing and online sales were relatively active. In 2024, the total retail sales of consumer goods reached 6,800 billion yuan, up by 3.5%. By different areas, retail sales in urban areas reached 42,100 billion yuan, up by 3.4%. Retail sales in rural areas, 6,700 billion yuan, up by 4.3%. Grouped by consumption patterns, the retail sales of goods were 43,200 billion yuan, up by 3.2%. Income of catering, 5,571 billion yuan, up by 5.3%. The sales of basic living goods and upgraded goods saw sound momentum of growth. Retail sales of household appliances, audio-video equipment, that of sports and recreational articles, that of communication equipment, and that of grain, oil, and food by enterprises above the designated scale grew respectively by 12.3%, 11.1%, 9.9%, and 9.9%. National online retail sales reached 15,500 billion yuan, up by 7.2%. Online retail sales of physical goods was 13,100 billion yuan, up by 6.5%, accounting for 26.8% of the total retail sales of consumer goods. In Q4, total sales of consumer goods went by 3.8% year-on-year. In December, total retail sales of consumer goods went up by 3.7% year-on-year, or up by 0.12% month-on-month. Retail sales of services in 2024 grew by 6.2% over the previous year. Number 5, investment in fixed assets scaled up, and investment in high-tech industries grew rapidly. Last year, the investment in fixed assets, excluding rural households, reached 51,400 billion yuan, up by 3.2%. The investment in fixed assets, barring real estate investment, was up by 7.2%. Investment in infrastructure up by 4.4%. Manufacturing up by 9.2%. Property sector development down by 10.6%. The floor space of newly constructed commercial buildings sold was 973.85 million square meters, down by 12.9%. Total sales of newly built commercial buildings were 9,675 billion yuan, down by 17.1%. By industries, the investment in the primary industry went up by 2.6%. Secondary industry up by 12%. Tertiary industry down by 1.1%. Private investment went down by 0.1%. Deducting the investment in property development, the private investment grew by 6%. Investment in high-tech industries grew by 8%. Investment in high-tech manufacturing and high-tech services grew by 7% and 10.2% respectively. In terms of high-tech manufacturing, investment in manufacturing of aerospace vehicles and equipment and manufacturing of computers and office devices grew respectively by 39.5% and 7.1%. In terms of high-tech services, investment in professional technical services and services for transformation of technology achievements went up by 30.3% and 11.4% respectively. In December, investment in fixed assets grew by 0.33% month-on-month. 6. Imports and exports of goods grew fast as trade structure continued to be optimized. Last year, total imports and exports of goods was 43,800 billion yuan, an increase of 5%. The total value of exports was 25,400 billion yuan, up by 7.1%. Total value of imports was 18,390 billion yuan, up by 2.3%. Trade with Belt and Road partner countries grew by 6.4%, accounting for 50.3% of the total value of imports and exports. The exports of mechanical and electrical products grew by 8.7%, accounting for 59.4% of the total value of exports. In December, total value of goods traded was 4,100 billion yuan, up by 6.8%. 10% year-on-year. Total value of exports was 2,400 billion yuan, up by 10.9%, and total value of imports was 1,657 billion yuan, up by 1.3%. Number 7. Consumer price was stable and core CPI went up mildly. Last year, CPI went up by 0.2%. In terms of commodity categories, prices for food, tobacco, and alcohol went down by 0.1%, clothing up by 1.4%, housing up by 0.1%, articles and services for daily use up by 0.5%, transportation and communication down by 1.9%, education, culture, and recreation up by 1.5%, medical services and healthcare up by 1.3%, and the other articles and services up by 3.8%. In terms of food, tobacco, and alcohol prices for fresh fruits down by 3.5%, grain down by 0.1%, fresh vegetables up by 5%, and pork up by 7.7%. Core CPI, excluding the prices of food and energy, went up by 0.5%. In December, the CPI went up by 0.1% year-on-year, maintaining the same level compared with last month. In 2024, the producer prices and purchasing prices for industrial products both went down by 2.2% over the previous year. In December, the producer prices and purchasing prices for industrial products both went down by 2.3% year-on-year, or down by 0.1% month-on-month. Number 8, employment was generally stable, and urban surveyed unemployment rate was down. In 2024, the urban surveyed unemployment rate averaged 5.1%, 0.1 percentage points lower than that of previous year. In December, the figure was 5.1%. Surveyed unemployment rate of population with local household registration was 5.3%, and that of population with non-local household registration was 4.6%, of which the rate of population with non-local agricultural household registration was 4.5%. The urban surveyed unemployment rate in 31 major cities was 5%. The employees of enterprises worked on average 49 hours per week. In 2024, the number of rural migrant workers totaled 300 million. That's around 2.2 million more than the previous year, or up by 0.7%. Local migrant workers totaled 121 million, up by 0.1%. Outbound migrant workers totaled 180 million, up by 1.2%. Number 9, resident income continued to increase, and income of rural residents grew faster than that of urban residents. Last year, the nationwide per capita disposable income of residents was 41,314 yuan, a nominal increase of 5.3%, or a real increase of 5.1%. In terms of the place of their permanent residence, per capita disposable income of urban households was 54,000 yuan, a nominal growth of 4.6%, or a real growth of 4.4%. Per capita disposable income of rural households was 23,000 yuan, a nominal growth of 6.6%, or a real growth of 6.3%. Median per capita disposable income nationwide was 34,707 yuan, a nominal increase of 5.1%. Grouped by income quantile, the per capita disposable income of low-income group reached 9,542 yuan. The lower middle income group, 21,608 yuan. Middle income group, 33,925 yuan. Upper middle income group, 53,359 yuan, and the high income group 98,809 yuan. In 2024, the nationwide per capita consumption expenditure was 28,227 yuan, a nominal growth of 5.3%, or a real growth of 5.1%. Per capita consumption on food, tobacco, and alcohol accounted for 29.8% of the per capita consumption expenditure. Per capita consumption expenditure on services went up by 7.4%, accounting for 46.1% of the per capita consumption expenditure, which was 0.9 percentage points higher than that of last year, than that of the previous year. Number 10, total population went down and urbanization rate continued to grow. By the end of 2024, national population was, including 31 provinces, autonomous regions, and municipalities and servicemen, but excluding residents of Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, and foreigners living in the 31 provincial level regions, the population was 1.41 billion, a decrease of 1.39 million over that of 2023. Last year, the number of birth was 9.54 million, with a birth rate of 6.6 per thousand. The number of deaths, 10.93 million. Mortality rate, 7.7 per thousand. Natural population growth rate was negative, 0.99 per thousand. In terms of gender, male population, 719 million. Female population, 689 million. The sex ratio was 104.34. In terms of age structure, population aged 16 to 59 was 857.98 million, accounting for 60.9%. Population aged 60 and over, 310 million, accounting for 22%. Population aged 65 and over was 2.2 billion, accounting for 15.6% of the total population. In terms of urban-rural structure, permanent residents in urban areas, 943 million, an increase of 10.8 million over the end of the previous year. Permanent residents in rural areas, 464.8 million, and a decrease of 12.22 million. Share of urban population was 67%, 0.84 percentage points higher than that of the previous year. The national economy in 2024, in general, was stable. Steady progress was made, high-quality development was advanced steadily, and solid strides were taken in advancing Chinese modernization. At the same time, we must be aware that there are adverse effects brought by external environment. Domestic demands are weak. Enterprises are facing difficulties in production and operation. The economy still faces difficulties and challenges. Going forward, we must continue to be guided by Xi Jinping's thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for the new era, fully implement the guiding principles of the 20th CPC's National Congress, the second and third plenary sessions, stick to the arrangements made by the Central Economic Work Conference, adhere to the principles of pursuing progress while maintaining stability. We must apply the new development philosophy, accelerate efforts to foster new development paradigm, and take solid steps in pursuing high-quality development. We must further deepen reform and opening up, implement more proactive macro policies, expand domestic demands, promote integrated advancement in tech innovation, stabilize market expectation, and boost vitality so as to ensure a continued recovery and development. Thank you very much.
好，我们先第一排吧，第一排这位记者。
Thank you. We know that 2024, the global economy is still undergoing cyclical adjustments with a rise of protectionism and geopolitical risks. Facing multifaceted challenges, how do you assess Chinese economy? Are the goals achieved?
Thank you. The year 2024 marked the 75th anniversary of New China and a critical year to achieve the targets and tasks of the 14th Five-Year Plan. Over the past year, in face of rising external pressure and rising internal problems, the Party Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, rallied the Chinese nation and responded calmly and took a holistic approach. As a result, the economy was stable and made progress. We made solid progress in high-quality development, and the main targets and tasks for the year were accomplished, and we achieved solid progress in Chinese modernization. Looking back over the past year, I'd like to use 5 not easies to sum up the economic performance of China over the past year. First, it's not easy that our economic aggregate went up to a new high with rising external pressure and internal problems. The year 2024 witnessed a complex international environment, a sluggish engine for global growth, intensifying geopolitical conflicts, rising trade protectionism, and there have been a lack of efficient demand and a pains in the shift of growth drivers, and difficulties facing many industries and companies. Despite all that, the Chinese economy withstood pressure, overcame difficulties, and achieved new breakthrough in aggregate, making a new contribution to global growth. We just mentioned our economic aggregate already reached 134.9 trillion RMB yuan, exceeding 130 trillion for the first time, an increase of 5%. It maintained the second largest in the world. Globally, a growth rate of 5% is one of the best among major economies in the world, and China will continue to be an important source of impetus for global growth. Second, it's not easy that the timely introduction of a policy package boosted an economic rebound. Affected by many factors. In Q2 and Q3, our economic growth slowed down, faced an unfavorable situation with significant downward pressure. In light of the evolving situation, the Party Central Committee strengthened macro regulation. On September 29th, the Political Bureau meeting introduced an incremental policy package, which strongly boosted confidence, vitality, and the economic rebound. In Q4, our GDP grew by 5.4%, 0.8 percentage points faster than Q3, from 4.6 to 5.4. The value added of industries, services, and the total retail sales of consumer goods grew by 0.7, 1.0, 1.1 percentage points. Manufacturing PMI from October returned to expansion. The non-manufacturing business activity index was stable and went up. In December, it went up to 52.2%. Third, it's not easy that we have achieved new progress in high-quality development when steering the economy through various difficulties. Our economy right now is at a critical juncture of transition and upgrading. In face of difficulties and challenges going forward, all parties must focus on the primary task of high-quality development, develop new quality productive forces in light of local conditions, build momentum in new growth drivers, and upgrade traditional growth drivers, improve the structure of economic development, and make growth more innovation-driven. Our industrial structures were improved. The value added of high-tech manufacturing and equipment manufacturing accounted for 16.3% and 34.6% of the total value added, 0.6 and 1.0 percentage points higher than the previous year. New urbanization is making solid progress. At the end of 2024, the urbanization rate of permanent residents stood at 6.7%, 0.84 percentage points higher than the end of the last year. Green and low-carbon transition was sped up according to preliminary estimates. In 2024, the proportion of non-fossil fuel energy consumption to total energy consumption saw a 1.8 percentage point increase year-on-year. High-standard opening up is making progress. In 2024, our total import and export in goods saw 43.8 trillion yuan, which is a record high. Fourth, it's not easy that we stabilized employment and increased incomes and ensured and improved livelihoods. To deliver a better life for the people is a fundamental purpose of development and is of paramount importance. In 2024, different regions and departments delivered livelihood measures and took stronger measures to stabilize income, stabilize employment, and raise incomes. The surveyed unemployment rate in urban areas averaged 5.1%, 0.1 percentage point lower than the previous year. Per capita disposable income saw a nominal increase of 5.1% in tandem with economic growth. The number of employed individuals from poverty-stricken background maintained 30 million for 4 years running. We have achieved new progress in education, healthcare, elderly care, and child care. Fifth, it's not easy that we coordinated development and security, strengthened food and energy supply, effectively and orderly diffused risks in key areas. In 2024, our grain output was a record high. For the first time, it stood at 700 million tons. The primary energy production continued to rise to ensure energy supply. We have actively improved housing policies, worked to ensure the timely delivery of pre-sale housing, and developed new models to develop real estate. Since September, there have been positive changes in the housing market. In Q4, the floor space of commercial buildings sold and total sales saw 0.5 and 1.0 increase respectively, reversing the previous trend of going down. So the floor space and the total sales achieved positive growth in Q4. On government debt and risks in smaller financial institutions and other key areas, we rolled out targeted measures and achieved real results. So they effectively consolidated the foundation for national security and development. Overall, in 2024, the the Chinese economy overcame various difficulties and challenges brought by complex internal and external environment, and accomplished major targets and tasks for the year. The economy saw an upgrade in quality and a reasonable expansion in quantity, and a better high-quality development. These achievements did not come easily. They were the results of the joint efforts of the Chinese nation under the party leadership. It speaks volumes about the solid foundation, multiple strength, strong resilience, and great potential of the Chinese economy, and it paves the way for accomplishing major targets of the 14th Five-Year Plan. But of course, we are keenly aware the deepening negative impact brought by external environment, insufficient domestic demand, difficulties facing certain companies, and pressure on employment and incomes, quite a few potential risks. And we still need to work extra hard to promote economic rebound. Going forward, we will follow the guiding principles of the Central Economic Work Conference, face up to problems, stay confident, take more actions, and translate all favorable factors into real results, and promote a sustained economic rebound. Thank you. Next, please.
Charles, since September last year, the Chinese government rolled out a set of incremental policies to promote investment and consumption. So how effective are these policies in driving economic growth? What are their roles in helping China achieve its development goal?
In 2024, indeed, the Chinese economy went through an extraordinary journey. In Q1, it went off to a good start. In Q2 and Q3, it went under rising pressure with new situations and new problems. In response to such new situations and new problems, the Party Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, in light of the evolving situation, took decisive measures. The Political Bureau meeting in December made the important decision to implement existing policies and introduce incremental policies. They were a strong boost to confidence, expectations, and impetus. We saw a notable rebound in Q4. According to preliminary estimates, in Q4, GDP grew by 5.4% year-on-year, 0.8 percentage points faster than Q3, making a decisive contribution to achieving the tasks and targets for the whole year. On the indexes of production, demand, prices, incomes, and expectations, we saw positive changes in all of that. First, faster consumption and investment. On consumption, in Q4, the total retail sales of consumer goods grew by 3.8%, 1.1 percentage point faster than Q3. It is only 2.3 in Q3. Encouraged by consumer goods trade-in programs, in Q4, the sales of household appliances, audio and visual equipment, furniture, vehicles, and construction and decoration materials raised the total retail sales of consumer goods by 1 percentage point. on investment, encouraged by the initiative of implementing major national strategies and enhancing security capabilities in crucial areas and upgrading manufacturing. In 2024, our investment in infrastructure increased 4.4%, 0.3 percentage points faster than the previous 3 quarters. Our investment in equipment increased 15.7%, 9.1 percentage points faster than the previous year, raising the overall investment by 2.2 percentage points. Second, industries and services. A notable rebound in industries and services. An increasing market demand promoted expansion of industrial production and services. Industries in Q4, our value added of industries grew by 5.7%, 0.7 percentage point faster than Q3. Encouraged by the policy of manufacturing upgrading, our value added of equipment manufacturing grew by 8.1%, 1.1 percentage point faster than Q3. And there has been a better use of industrial capacity. In Q4, the industrial capacity utilization rate was 76.2%, 1.1 percentage point faster than Q3. On services, in Q4, services is value added grew by 5.8% year-on-year, 1 percentage point faster than Q3. And the wholesales, retail, transportation, storage, postal services, and financial services, their value added increased by 5.7%, 7.9%, 6.5%, 0.7 and 1.3 and 0.3 percentage points faster. And the real estate, the value added of real estate grew by 2.0% from declining by 1.2%. Third, positive changes in prices. As market demand went up, prices went up. On consumer prices, in Q4, we saw a slowdown in CPI growth, mainly affected by food prices. Core CPI, which reflects supply and demand, went up. In Q4, core CPI, which strips out food and energy, went up for 3 months running. In December, it went up 0.4%. On the prices of industrial products, the improvement of industrial production and sales drove stability of prices in December and in November, December, there was a consecutive decrease in the rate of decline for PPI, 1.4 and 0.4 and 0.2 percentage points respectively. Fourth, better corporate, household, and government revenues. Economic recovery also made improvement in revenues of companies, households, and governments in 2024. Per capita disposable income increased a nominal term of 5.1%, 0.2 percentage point faster than the previous 3 quarters. And there has been a marginal improvement of corporate profits. In October, November, there was a consecutive decrease in the rate of decline for corporate profits. They are 7.1 and 2.7 percentage points smaller. Fiscal revenues were improved, and we saw and the fiscal improvement registered positive growth, and in October and this November it went better. Fifth, the market vitality. We already seen the combined effect of policies the stock market and housing market are more vibrant, and the freight went up, and the supply of currencies went up. Economic development were more vibrant in Q4. The floor space of commercial buildings sold, and total sales achieved positive growth, and the stock trading volume and value in Shanghai and Shenzhen went up by 1.1 and 1.6 times compared with the previous 3 quarters. Annual freight went up 3.9% and 0.6 percentage point than the previous 3 quarters. At the end of December, the balance of broad money supply went up by 7.3%, 0.5 percentage points faster than the end of September. 6. Market expectation also went up as the economy is getting better, and our expectation are improved since the fourth quarter. Manufacturing PMI and service business activity index continue to maintain at above the threshold indicating economic expansion. Based on the index from December, it becomes all the more evident that the economy is on the upward trajectory. Our value added of industries, service production index, and total retail sales of consumer goods went up by 6.2%, 6.5%, and 3.7%, 0.8% and 0.7 percentage point faster than the previous month, and the growth rate of industries was the highest for the second half of the year, and the service growth rate was the highest within the year. The production and the sales rate of industrial enterprises also maintained at a high level of 98.7%. Overall, since the Political Bureau meeting in September, we have introduced an incremental policy package, effectively boosted vitality, market demand, spurred corporate production, increased market vibrancy, boosted confidence, and made a decisive role in achieving the growth target for the year. Going forward, we will continue to implement the guiding principles of the Central Economic Work Conference and take more proactive macro policies and ensure the continuity and a smooth transition of relevant policies from one year to the next, and provide a stronger underpinning for stable economic operation and a sustained rebound. Thank you.
第3排这位记者，对。
谢谢主持人。总台央视记者提问：2024年我国经济总量首次超过
In 2024, our economic aggregate for the first time surpassed 130 trillion RMB yuan. What does it mean, and how do we see these changes?
Thank you for your question. In 2024, our economic output exceeded 130 trillion yuan, which is a remarkable achievement. This means that China's economic strength, scientific strength, and the composite national strength moved on to a new stage. It also means that we have a more solid foundation, better condition, stronger momentum, and the anti-risk capacity. This also means that China makes new and important contribution to the global economic development. First of all, this means that China has a better economic performance. Since the 18th CPC National Congress, China's economic output exceeded the 10 trillion yuan threshold every 1 to 2 years. In 2020, we exceeded the 100 trillion yuan threshold. In 2021 and 2022, exceeded 110 trillion, 120 trillion. In 2024, we surpassed 130 trillion yuan. Over the past decade, we achieved a historic leapfrog from over 50 trillion yuan to over 130 trillion yuan, showing our stronger composite national strength. In 2024, our economic increment is equivalent to the economic output of a middle-sized country. The social productivity gets enhanced. The secondary and tertiary added value reached 49.2 trillion and 76.6 trillion yuan respectively. The production of the new energy vehicles surpassed 13 million, and the production of the phones exceeded 1.6 billion, maintaining our first place in the global manufacturing. Second, this means that China's supersized market and complete industrial system advantages get consolidated. Changes within a century are unfolding at a faster pace. There are more uncertainties and instabilities from the external sides. We have very solid economic foundation, supersized market, and complete industry system, which is our biggest source of confidence in responding to risk and challenges. In 2024, the total retail sales of consumer goods, the fixed asset investment reached 48.8 trillion yuan and 51.4 trillion yuan respectively. The role of productive force of domestic demand has been released. We rank first in our trading goods, foreign exchange reserves, and manufacturing, and second in the service trade and the domestic consumption market. And our capacity in the food and energy supply gets enhanced, and the new infrastructure such as 5G computing capacity and energy storage gets accelerated, and efforts in strengthening, extending, and complementing the manufacturing supply chains gets advanced, and we have a solid foundation in our security. Third, this means that China makes a very positive contribution to the global prosperity and development. In recent years, the annual average contribution of China to the global economy was 30%. Around, which is the biggest driving force for the global economic growth. We are committed to the high-level opening up and has released the autonomous and the unilateral opening policies and expanded the high-standard free trade network open to the whole world, maintained the second largest import market for many years in a row. In 2024, the import of goods reached 2.6 trillion US dollars. China's supersized market offers new opportunities to the opening up and cooperation of all countries. At the same time, we should stay clear that China is still the largest developing country in the world, and we still have a large gap of our per capita GDP with the developed countries, and development is still faced with the unbalanced and inadequate problems. To achieve the 2035 vision, we still have a long way to go. We should fully and faithfully implement the new development philosophy on all fronts, accelerate the building of development paradigm, and we should firmly remember that high-quality development is of great importance and work relentlessly towards the Chinese modernization. Thank you. Next question.
好，这边吧，最靠边上第三排这位，对，拿一下话筒。
谢谢主持人，我是红星新闻记者。我的问题是，过去1年，中央和地方推出了一系列。
In the past year, the local and the rural areas have made efforts in maintaining the real estate. What are the roles of these policies? How to forecast the future trend of the real estate industry? Thank you.
谢谢你的提问。这个房地产啊，大家非常
Thank you for your question.
关注的问题。
People are watching very closely the development of the property market because it is closely related to economic growth and improvement of livelihood. In 2024, regarding what happened in the real estate sector, the Political Bureau meeting on the 26th of September specifically talked about the importance of stabilizing the property market. Relevant departments have improved their policies regarding the land, fiscal and tax policies, and finance policies. They have removed restrictions on purchase, sales, and price, removed the distinction between ordinary housing and non-ordinary housing, lower provident ratio, fund ratio, down payment ratio, outstanding mortgage ratio, and tax ratio for sales and purchases. These are the set of policies that are taken by different cities and regions in line with their local needs. Policy effects are being unleashed. There are a few points that I would like to highlight. Number one, deals are made in the market. More deals are made in the market. These set of policies have made it much easier for residents to buy houses, ease their mortgage repayment burden, which in turn increased their willingness to buy houses. This contributed to a turnaround in the property sector in terms of sales. I talked about this just now. In December, newly built commercial buildings, in terms of floor space and revenue, increased by 0.3% and 4.1% respectively. Number two, prices have been stabilized. With growing basic and improved housing demand, there is a better balance in supply and demand, and leading to more stable prices. In 70 core cities, we have released relevant statistics regarding the price. Among these 70 cities, 23 of them have registered month-on-month increase in the sales price of newly built commercial residential building. In 9 cities, second-hand houses recorded a growth in the price month-on-month. Tier 1 city price in Tier 1 cities recorded a 0.2% growth. This is for the first time. This is the first time growth since June 2023. Second-hand houses saw their price increased by 0.3% month-on-month. For 3 months running, there has been an increase. In Tier 2 cities, the decline has been arrested. And in Tier 3 cities, for 4 months running, the decline have been narrower. So practically speaking, in all the cities, the decline, especially year-on-year decline in terms of sales, have become narrower. Number 3, we are seeing better expectations. The set of policies have enhanced market confidence, which have led to better indicators in the property sector. We have conducted surveys in 70 cities in December. 69.3% of the surveyed anticipate stability or growing housing prices going forward in the next half a year. That is a 0.8 percentage point increase compared with last month. Number 4, better performance in the property sector. In December, business activity expectation index of construction moved up by 1.5 percentage points. For 3 months running, there has been an increase. Thanks to such improvement, sales of furniture and construction materials are also seeing a turnaround. In December, sales revenue of goods related to furniture increased by 8.8% year-on-year, moving into the positive territory for 4 months running. Construction materials increased by 0.8%, staying positive for 2 months. Broadly speaking, thanks to the set of policies, the property sector is seeing more positive developments, especially enhanced market confidence. We anticipate continued improvement in the property sector going forward. From medium to long term, we are still advancing this new type of urbanization, which will give rise to more basic and improved housing demand. There will be growing demand for safer, more comfortable, greener, and smarter houses. As the new model of property sector development is taking shape, we believe the property sector will continue to see steady and healthy development. Thank you.
Thank you. Market News International. China's CPI registered 0.2% in 2024, which was below the official target. With December's core inflation up slightly to 0.4%, the highest in 5 months. What is your assessment of these trends? How will inflation indicators perform in 2025? And how can authorities ensure CPI reaches closer to the official target this year? Thank you.
好，请翻译一下。
美国国际市场新闻社，您刚刚公布中国去年的 CPI 增长为0.2%，低于官方预期。同时，我们注意到12月核心 CPI 小幅上升至0.4%，为5个月来最高水平。统计局如何看待去年通胀表现？2025年，统计局如何看待2025年的通胀表现，以及将采取什么措施确保通胀符合官方预期？谢谢。
这是一个关于物价的问题啊。
This is a question related to the CPI, so I will give the floor to Mr. Fu Linghui. Thank you for your question. We know all of you are following closely the price issue. There was a modest increase on price last year. CPI grew by 0.2%, the same with the previous year. We see a modest increase in all the months, barring January. Regarding CPI, we must look at both the aggregate, but also the structure of CPI, and also we must factor in changing dynamics. Number one, we must look at the structure of CPI in 2024 due to a decline in both food and energy. CPI was affected. If we deduct the food and energy CPI, core CPI is relatively stable. In terms of food prices, despite the impact of extreme weather events in some regions, we have ensured sufficient supply of grain, oil, meat, etc., leading to a small drop in food prices. In 2024, food prices declined by 0.6%, feeding into 0.11 percentage points of overall CPI. The prices of edible oil, beef, mutton, eggs, and fresh fruits declined by around 3.5% to 11.6%. That is the range of decline. In terms of energy prices, due to sluggish global growth and weak demand, and a downward movement of major commodities, domestic energy prices also witnessed a decline. In 2024, energy price dropped by 0.1%. More specifically, the prices of gasoline and diesel decreased by 0.7% and 0.8%. That said, core CPI, which is a better indicator of supply and demand, has maintained stability. Core CPI grew by 0.5%, including a 0.7% increase of prices and services in Q4, thanks to improved service demand. Core CPI grew. That is continuing a 3-month streak of growth. Number 2, we are seeing positive factors that will lead to a modest increase of CPI. The set of policies rolled out will contribute to a stronger momentum of recovery and of consumption. There will be an increase of income, which will lead to an increase of price. As the Spring Festival draws nearer, there will be more consumption and services as people go out to restaurants, visit their families and friends, and travels around. There will be a seasonal increase of CPI. Preliminary statistics indicate that there will be a modest increase of CPI as vegetables, fresh fruits, plane tickets continue to increase. At the same time, corporate and resident expectations are improving, which will also contribute to a modest increase of CPI. In December, business activity expectation index for manufacturing and for services stood at around 53% and 57%. Both are in positive territory. Market expectations also was lifted up by 0.2 percentage points. In the Central Economic Work Conference last year, it was stressed that we must redouble efforts to uplift consumption, increase return on investment, and enhance domestic demand. We believe that CPI in 2024 will see a modest increase thanks to the set of policies that are taken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Over the past year, the central government attaches tremendous importance to new quality productive forces. What are the effects of new quality productive forces? Thank you very much. New quality productive forces is essential to advancing high-quality development. In 2024, technological innovation and industrial innovation were further integrated. Industries have become more high-end, smarter, and greener. Technological innovation have boosted social productivity. The development of new quality productive forces have injected new drivers into high-quality development. Let me highlight a few points. Number 1, stronger innovation. We are seeing improved system for supporting comprehensive innovation. The system for building infrastructure for technological innovation is also advanced. New progress have been made in IC, AI, quantum, telecommunications, aerospace and aviation. Chang'e 6 spacecraft has for the first time collected samples from far side of the moon, and the Mengxiang deep-sea drilling vessel entered into service. China's ranking in terms of Global Innovation Index moved up to number 11. China has become the fastest economy in terms of improvement in innovation. In 2024, intensity of R&D input was 2.68%, increasing by 0.1 percentage points. Expenditure in basic research up by 10.5%, accounting for 6.91% of total R&D expenditure, an increase of 0.14 percentage points. Number 2, expanding emerging industries. We are seeing stronger momentum of growth in high-end manufacturing, artificial intelligence, among other emerging industries. New pillars of industries are taking shape. In 2024, added value of high-tech manufacturing increased by 8.9%. Specifically, double-digit growth have been registered in the manufacturing of aircraft and spacecraft and manufacturing and electronics and telecommunications equipment. New market demand has generated higher quality supply. In 2024, high-tech manufacturing, we are seeing a 10.9% increase in smart consumption equipment manufacturing. More specifically, smart car equipment and smart UAVs have seen 25.1% and 53.5% respectively in their value added. Number 3, upgraded traditional industry. We are upgrading traditional industries and renewing equipment. In 2024, 8% growth was registered in manufacturing upgrading, much faster than the overall investment. In key areas, for instance, we're seeing steady improvement in industrial raw material processing technological equipment and green transition. In 2024, energy intensity in construction, materials, steel, and non-ferrous metal industry dropped. Per capita energy consumption in all these sectors dropped compared with the previous year. By the end of last year, the CNC ratio of key nodes in raw material processing was above 75%. We have completed this task ahead of schedule, as mandated by the 14th five-year plan. Number 4, we are seeing a growing digital economy. Digital technology has been applied to virtually all sectors. It has become an important underpinning and driver for the development of new quality productive forces. In 2024, the value added of digital products grew much faster than the rest of the industry. Information transmission, software, and information technology services saw 10.9% growth in their value added. There are an increasing number of scenarios where digital services could be applied. We have 4.19 million 5G base stations by the end of this November last year. The very first interprovincial AON was operationalized, creating a corridor of high-speed computing power. Number 5, we are seeing faster green development. We have built a globally competitive, all-encompassing industrial chain in the new industry. We are moving faster to green the energy sector with a higher proportion of electricity being generated by clean power. In 2024, hydropower, nuclear power, wind power, and solar power altogether account for over 30% of electricity generation. We are also moving faster in making inroads into industries of the future, quantum technology, and low-altitude economy. The Origin Wukong, which is the third-generation 72 quantum-bit superconducting computer, has been put into operation. Humanoid robots are seeing a bigger market of demand. We are also exploring and entering new tracks of development, which will continue to unleash potential for new quality productive forces. Thank you. My question is on the economic performance in 2025. How can you uplift consumption? And my question is on potential growth rate. What is your assessment, and how will it develop in the future? Thank you.
First, on your question concerning the potential growth rate. Potential growth rate is a research concept reflecting the capacity of economic growth. Scholars may have different results of their measurement based on their different approaches and different assumptions. From the result of the multiple institutions and scholars, the potential growth rate of the Chinese economy maintained at a medium to high-speed level. Different institutions and scholars have their different approaches, so there may be different results. But generally speaking, medium to high-speed level is our potential growth rate performance. As for the economic outlook of 2025, 2025 is the concluding year of the 14th five-year plan. Adverse effects brought by the changes of external environment may increase, but Chinese economy has solid foundation, multiple advantages, strong resilience, and huge potential. Its support and the trend of the long-term growth has never changed. The great trend of the high-quality development remains unchanged. We have more favorable conditions than the adverse factors, and we still have advantages in timing and trend. So we are confident to the economic performance in 2025. These are our sources of confidence. First of all, we have a foundation for our continual economic growth. And more positive factors in this regard. In 2024, we have traversed an extraordinary journey. In Q4, our economy gets recovered, and the market got activated and promising, accumulating more positive factors for the economy to get recovered. All this lay a very solid foundation for the economic growth in 2025. China is a supersized economy. It has a very large economic output and market capacity, complete industrial system, and strong support. The supplies and demands could all support the domestic circulation. This is also our foundation for our sustained economic growth. We have also released the number of the production. For example, in 2024, there are over 80,000 automobiles, 3.4 million smartphones coming off the production line, and over 470 million expresses being delivered. This is where Chinese market's vitality lies, and it is there for all to see. Second, we have the momentum for our sustained economic growth and continuous new development driving forces and advantages. We are at a key period of the transition of the growth drivers. For example, the traditional driving forces, such as the real estate, covers a lower proportion in our economy, but the new driving forces, such as the digital economy, gets developed and sees a larger share, offering more possibilities for us to expand new space and create more opportunities. In 2024, the value added of the real estate industry accounted for 6.3% of the GDP, down by 0.5 percentage points than that of last year. As for the digital economy, we have not got the number of 2024, but in 2023, the value added of digital economy accounted for 31.8% of the GDP, 1.3 percentage points than that of 2022. Among which, the core industry of digital economy added value accounted for 9.9% of the whole GDP, up by 0.5 percentage points than that in 2022. And the proportion would go even higher in 2024. Digital economy has become a new driving force for our economic growth. Third, there are the support for our sustained economic growth, and the effects of the package policies get demonstrated. The Central Economic Work Conference have suggested the way out of our current problems and pointed the direction for the work in 2025 with very clear direction of policies. That is to promote the sustained growth of economy and enhance people's living standards. In the face of the complex changes of the external environment and the inadequate domestic demands, the priority of our economy in 2025 is to expand the domestic demand on all fronts, especially to encourage the consumption of residents. This is what you show your interest. This meeting proposed to implement a special campaign dedicated to stimulating consumption and a new wave of large-scale equipment upgrades and trading for consumer goods, and implement major national strategies and enhance security capabilities in crucial areas. All of these policies will effectively unleash the domestic demands and encourage consumption, offering the important driving force for the stable operation and the growth of our economy. Fourth, our economy is vigorous, which will be further strengthened by the deepening reform and opening up. Opening up is the source of vitality for China's progress and also a key for us to catch with the times. The third plenary session of the 20th CPC Central Committee proposed over 300 important reform measures, and the Central Economic Work Conference proposed that as for the deep-seated obstacles and external challenges restricting our development, we should be committed to deepening reform and opening up. Related measures have been implemented steadily, which will further liberate and develop social productivity and strengthen the vitality. 2025 will also be a year that would conclude the 14th five-year plan. We should stay focused on our target and implement all the measures. The important strategic tasks and the important projects will be implemented, forming the great synergy for our growth. China has very rich experience in macroeconomic adjustment and enterprising companies, diligent people. All of this will strengthen our confidence in promoting high-quality development and responding to risks and challenges. Moving ahead, we should unleash the development potential through the reforms and policies, complete the goals and tasks of the 14th five-year plan in high quality, and lay a solid foundation for the sound beginning of the 15th five-year plan. Thank you.
好，继续提问。还有不少记者举手，时间关系已经1个半小时了，我们最后2道题吧。
The last two questions.
第3排靠边上那位记者。对 ，CNBC。
谢谢主持人，是 CNBC 记者提问，请问就业，尤其是年轻人就业。
I want to ask about the employment, especially the changes for the employment for the young people.
还是您会市长来回答吧。
您关心就业问题，也是大家非常关心的问题。
The employment is for the concern of people. Employment is the source of income and the foundation of people's well-being. The Party Central Committee has always put the stabilization and expansion of the employment as the priority. Despite the challenges of economic operation and difficulties of part of the enterprises, our economic output increased steadily, and the labor-intense service sector gets improved. And our policies of improvement have made the new models and new businesses get further enhanced. And these policies have altogether supported the momentum and the condition of the employment in 2024. First of all, the national urban service unemployment rate maintained stable and achieved slight decrease in 2024. It averaged a number of 5.1%, down by 0.1 percentage point. And for the different quarters, it is 5.2%, 5%, 5.2%, 5% respectively, maintaining stable relatively. As for this average, it is relatively at a very low level. So, generally speaking, it is stable. As for the key groups, their employment gets improved in general. For example, the migrant workers, the young people, and those face difficulties in employment get further enhanced in their job seeking. In 2024, the surveyed unemployment rate of population with non-local household registration was 4.6%, down by 0.3 percentage point compared with last year. The number of rural migrant workers totaled 299.73 million, 2.2 million more than that of the previous year, up by 0.7%. As for the end of the graduation season, the employment pressure of the young people gets released. In December, the urban surveyed unemployment rate of the 16 to 24, excluding the students, decreased by 0.4 percentage point compared with last month. And this decrease has achieved 4 months in a row. And by the end of 2024, the employment of the poverty alleviation population has reached a number of 33.05 million, exceeding the target. And we still face great pressure in our employment and this structure. The reason why we could achieve a stable employment landscape is because that we should have the economic growth and the development of a service sector. And this year's service sector played a very important role in driving up our economy in 2024. The service sector has accounted for a larger number in the GDP, up by 0.4 percentage point compared with last year, accounting for 56.7% in the whole GDP. As for the average employment, in 2024, it sees a number of increase of over 7 million. The industries such as wholesale, retail, accommodation, catering, information transfer, renting, and business services accommodated more jobs. Moreover, we have the support from the policies that prioritize the employment. Last year, the Party Central Committee and the State Council published the guidelines on the high-quality employment through the employment priority strategies, and different regions have also their actions through the development of advanced manufacturing. However, in our economy, we still have challenges and very prominent structural problems. And there are also difficulties and pressures for the young people, and we still have to make more efforts to stabilize the employment. The Central Economic Work Conference has stressed that we should stay focused by our goals and work to stabilize our growth and employment and achieve reasonable recovery of prices. We should prioritize high-quality employment by implementing these policies and have the supporting plans to support the employment in the key areas and industries to maintain the stable growth. Thank you.
谢谢。封面新闻记者提问，我想再问一下关于消费的问题。中央经济工作会议提出要大力的提振消费。
Central Economic Work Conference has proposed that we should develop and encourage consumption. What about the performance in 2024? How would you see the current consumption market, and will this trend be recovered in 2025? Thank you for your question. In 2024, different departments and regions have worked hard to implement the policies to expand domestic demand and promote consumption, stabilize and enhance the consumption of residents, especially after Q4. The trade-in policies of the consumer goods have unleashed their good potential. And the sales of market went up faster, promoting the recovery and growth of economy. Specifically, there are the following features. First, new stage for the market scale. In 2024, the total retail sale of consumer goods reached a number of 48 trillion yuan, up by 3.5%, ranking among the first in the global retail sale market. In Q4, it increased by 3.8%, 1.1 percentage point faster than that in Q3. The consumption has driven the economic growth up by 2.2 percentage points, among which Q4 was 1.6 percentage point up and 0.2 percentage point higher than that in Q3. Second, the new drivers from the trading services. In 2024, the Central Party Committee has released the ultra long-term special treasury bond worth of 150 billion yuan, supporting the trade-in different regions based on their conditions. The retail sale of the household appliances and audio-video equipment above the designated size increased by 12.3%, up by 11.8 percentage points compared with last year. As for the furnitures, it increased by 3.6%, 0.8 percentage point faster. As for the latter half of the year, the trading policies has been implemented at a faster pace. The sales for the household appliances and automobiles get further accelerated, further leveraging the growth of the overall consumption. Third, new momentum from the consumption of service sector, and people have more personalized and diverse and high-quality consumption, and they have focused more on the service consumption and the goods consumption as well. The consumption in service sector has become an important driving force for the growth in 2024. The per capita service consumption proportion has increased by 0.9 percentage point compared with last year, and retail sale of the services increased by 6.2% faster than the growth of the goods. We could also see the blooming consumption in culture and tourism, information, transportation, and communication, etc., among which the latter two maintain a two-digit growth. Fourth, the new potential for the growth models. We have new business models such as the online sales and the on-time sales. In 2024, the online retail sale of physical goods increased by 6.5%, leveraging the express delivery volume to a new height of 174.5 billion. At the same time, China chic products have received warm welcome, and we could also see new businesses and models such as digital culture and tourism, live streaming, online fitness, and the new sense of smart housing and smart wearable equipments, showing the potential for fast growth. In 2024, the retail sale of the high energy efficiency and smart home appliances maintained a two-digit growth. At the same time, there are still inadequacies in the capacity and willingness for the consumption of residents. Their consumption demands should be further encouraged. In the future, we have a great number of the favorable conditions for the continued growth of consumption. First, we will further advance our policies to promote consumption. The Central Economic Work Conference has proposed to expand the domestic demand. And second, we maintain stable in our employment, laying the foundation for the income growth. We worked to enhance the income and release pressure for the middle and low-income groups, which would further strengthen the consumption. Third, there are more new models and new businesses. And recently, we could see the development opportunities brought by the ICE economy. And at the same time, first release economy and grey hair tourism and new driving forces for consumption has been built up gradually, which will further drive up this consumption. And fourth, with the advantages of our supersized market continue to get released, our 1.4 billion population and enhanced urbanization would bring us large potential for consumption, which would further support the stable growth of consumption. Moving ahead, we should fully implement the decisions of the Central Economic Work Conference, implement the special campaigns to encourage consumption and increase income for the middle and low-income groups, so as to enhance their capacity, willingness, and their level of consumption, create diverse sense of consumption, and expand the consumption in services. Thank you. Thank you. This is the end of today's press conference. Thank you.
That is Chinese officials briefing the media on the country's economic performance in 2024. All right, for more insights, let's check in with Liu Zhiqin in Beijing. He is a senior fellow at the Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies at Renmin University of China. Great to have you with us, Professor Liu. So China's GDP expanded 5% year-on-year in 2024. How do you rate the economic performance in 2024?
I think it's a very happy news that we heard today, because the figure 5% of GDP is really better than expected. Now, in the last year, the public and the economic circle and also the domestic market and international community also have many questions about China's performance. Nowadays, that we give the answer. The economic performance of China 2024 quite good, satisfied, and better than expected. Because I think 5% is much better than all other advanced countries. Especially, we see the figure in the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, the GDP already arrived at 5.4%. This is really very unique, not only in China, but also including in the international market, especially for those advanced countries in Europe and America. So that shows that China's economy really has great resilience and the potential and the dynamic. That shows that great expectation for the future could be also realized. So that will greatly that increase and strengthen the confidence of China's economic development, not only in this year, the year before, but also for this year and the next year.
Professor Liu, China's job market has remained generally stable, and its surveyed urban unemployment rate showed a slight drop last year. So what's your outlook on this, and which factors have the most potential for boosting employment?
We have to say frankly that the unemployment or employment market in China is very crucial, because every year we have a new graduates over 10 million. This is a new job hunter. That will have more pressure on the job market. But in general speaking, the picture is quite positive, because 5% or 5.1% is quite stable compared. If we compare the last 3 years, the rate is still very stable, very solid. Why? Because we have one side, we have every year additional more new graduates, new job hunters. The other side, all the economic development develops very fast. How to meet these two sides could combine together and coordinate. But we see very good potential for the job market. Why? Because we see this year that for private companies, private sector, they increased the economy 5.0%. And also shareholders, the companies increased 6.1%. These two sections are the major job market forces that they absorb the major job hunters. The new job always captured and by these two sections. So we see very optimistic that in the future. Now we can do more that to try to drop this unemployment rate.
Definitely a lot of very optimistic forward. Thank you so much, Professor Liu Zhiqin, for your insights. Appreciate it. All right, that's it for the world today. I'm Honan. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.